Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our VeChain and Crypto.com live video AMA. I'm Tina Baker-Taylor, the General Manager of the UK at Crypto.com, and I'm delighted to be your host for today's live stream. Launched in 2015, VeChain aims to connect blockchain technology to the real world by providing a comprehensive governance structure, a robust economic model, and IoT integration. VeChain's vision is to lower the barrier and enable established businesses with blockchain technology to create value and solve real-world economic problems. We'll talk about some of those later this morning. Since its inception, VeChain has managed to onboard an impressive list of enterprises building applications on top of VeChain Thor blockchain. Over 30 of the Fortune 500, including Walmart, BMW, LVMH, Renault, and PwC have live solutions running on VeChain, and another 250 clients or more are currently being onboarded. So it's my real pleasure to welcome the co-founder and CEO of VeChain, Sunny Liu. Hi, Sunny.
Hi, Tina. Thank you very much for inviting.
No, it's great to have you back. We're delighted to have you back for another AMA. And it looks like the community is also really excited. We've got a lot of people who have joined us today, so that's awesome.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, so for those of us watching who may not be familiar with you yet or VeChain, can you just give us a brief introduction to yourself and to the VeChain project?
Sure. My name is Sunny, and I quit my job in 2015 as a Chief Information Officer of Louis Vuitton and started VeChain since then. People usually wondering like, why a guy, selling bags or can do such kind of technology stuff. But actually, when I was working Louis Vuitton, as a CIO, the main job is to bridge technology and business. And I think that's quite kind of profile which blockchain industry needed. So that's why I jump into the blockchain. I'm very fascinated about the blockchain technology itself. And I created the VeChain in 2015. And we have been focused on and devote ourselves to build, valuable transactions, valuable blockchain applications for different enterprise, big corporations, small startups. But the entire goal is to, let's say, transform the technology value to a business value. I think that's everything about the new technology.
Yeah, well, I think your experience in the enterprise space has potentially impacted some of the strategy that you've undertaken. I've read somewhere that VeChain's strategic position makes it similar to Amazon Web Services of public blockchain. Would you agree with that description? Is that how you see VeChain's position in the industry?
Well, yeah, definitely. I totally agreed because we have, a blockchain as a service platform built on the VeChain Soul as one of the major tools we call VeChain 2-chain. The reason we do that actually because, let's do a metaphor story. Think about e-commerce or internet like 25 or 30 years ago. When you try to build an e-commerce or try to launch an e-commerce service 30 years ago, it was quite difficult.
Yeah.
Because you gotta basically build up everything from scratch. You have to have your own website. You have to work with the bank for the interfaces, for the payments, and the transportation or logistics service is quite poor at that time. And don't mentioning about like customer service or digital marketing remotely, everything. But nowadays, if you try to do an e-commerce, it's pretty easy. You can go to Amazon, Alibaba, eBay, or JD.com.
Yeah.
Basically, you just need to upload your picture of a product and write the price you wanted to sell. And also, you got lots of infrastructure level services available for your options. You don't need to worry about the payments. You don't need to worry about the customer service. Basically, the platform has done everything for you. You just need to focus on your core business.
Mm-hmm.
I think the blockchain is the same. In the early stage, the entire market is lack of handy tools or professional services. So when people try to build so-called blockchain applications, it's quite tough.
Yeah.
So we wanted to, VeChain position ourselves to be enablers. We wanted to enable more people to build the true value, real applications on the VeChain Soul blockchain. So that's why we have been devoted ourselves to build the different tools and services, not only about Tuition, but also like a Sync 2, the other tools actually built by a community as well. For example, like VeChain States as an explorer of the VeChain Soul. So we are calling for more builders to build the tools and services, enable people are building blockchain applications like doing e-commerce today.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, it's going to take time, but that's our goal. That's our mission.
No, that sounds fantastic. So before we get into, we've asked the community for some questions, and so they've sent us, quite a few, and we'll get to as many of them as we can.
Sure.
But before we get into the weeds into some of those, I know that you have announced a new consensus algorithm, POA, or Proof of Authority 2.0 surface. And it's been characterized as a secure use case, adaptive, and relatively fork-free approach. I love that, relatively fork-free approach, for chain extension. So can you tell us a little bit more about that, and when will POA 2.0 surface be implemented?
Sure. It is actually it's very exciting to see the coming of POA 2.0. As a matter of fact, 2 p.m. Shanghai time, China time, 2 p.m. this afternoon, our new testnet just go live for POA 2.0. Yeah. Wow. For sure, I have the privilege to announce here, but the official release will be out in the air like after this AMA. But it's out for the testnet. Welcome to find out. You can go to the GitHub to find the VIP 193 as a protocol to find out more details. For POA 2.0, actually will address many improvements and honestly just bring VeChain Soul to, let's say, another level when the other consensus protocols are still battling about scalability, security, or too much power consumption. But it just go to another level. For sure, I don't want to go too much technical details here, but simply say POA 2.0 could enable VeChain Soul to achieve we call ultimate state finality. There will be no chance for rolling back fork, that kind of thing, on VeChain Soul. Or simply saying, everybody still, most of people still remember the Ethereum Classic case, when the DOA hacks happened, and Ethereum have a fork with ETC. The Ethereum Foundation decides to roll back, for sure with consensus of the community, but still it's a rollback. But that kind of the case will be no chance happening on VeChain Soul after the final stage of POA 2.0 released. So it will give the ultimate confidence about immutability and certainty to the people who use VeChain Soul blockchain, especially for those enterprises with quite concerning or concerns of credibility or reputation. So POA 2.0 will have two protocols launch, VIP 193 and a VIP 200. We'll address this step by step. We will go through, as a routine, let's say we'll go through different stages. Right now we'll release the testnet, including, we're going to do lots of like stress tests, system optimization, conditions performance tests, such kind of things. And then we will go to the second stage to upgrade consensus on the current main test net, also to simulate the upgrading process. And third stage will carry out all stakeholders to vote to make sure everybody is agreed to launching this POA 2.0, because it's a fundamental change in terms of consensus. So if the proposal was approved, well, honestly, I believe it will be approved. We're going to upgrade the mainnet. So in summary, with the POA 2.0 launching, we will have even more confidence to attract more builders to build serious blockchain applications for real business.
Awesome. That sounds really fantastic. And I think it makes a major difference to, certainly some of the large enterprises that are choosing VeChain, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But that maturity of the blockchain protocol infrastructure, I think, is pretty critical to when you're launching something around COVID testing. We're going to talk about it in a minute. It's important that the infrastructure is sound, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about partners. VeChain obviously has a number of big industry names that I mentioned at the beginning. So when a new partner decides to adopt VeChain technology, how long does it take for them to go live on your network? What's the process of getting somebody new on your chain?
Well, it's really varies, let's say, from stage to stage or time to time. I still remember in like early 2016 when we tried to knock the doors of different enterprises and try to, convince them the blockchain is the future, and blockchain can definitely help you to secure the leading position in the market in the future. It was quite hard, but generally speaking, it's faster and faster in coming in these days. I guess because of the entire market has been educated quite well and long enough as well. But still, blockchain technology is still in let's say it's still one of kind of let's say strategic decision for most of enterprises or companies. Yeah. So the decision process really depends on the scope of the business. For example, like I mentioned, early stage, like since 2018, it took H&M, one of our customers, more than 14 months from the first meeting to POC even. And another year to make the decision of scaling up recently. But also we have some customers are really, let's say, passionate about the blockchain. They even try something before. So when they just switch to VeChain, they just like, okay, let's do it. I have a very clear requirement. As long as I can verify your story about your technical features, what you can do, and let's do it. Sometimes the decision process could be just within 1 week or 2 weeks. But generally speaking, once the clients decide to go for blockchain, and when they agree to meet with us, usually we can convince them, we are the better options in the market. The technical implementation of VeChain is pretty fast. For example, when we did the Walmart case in 2019, only took us 3 months, while back to 2017 when Walmart US tried to do similar, similar things, it took them like 9 months or more than that. And when we replicate to Sam's Club in 2020, it just took 1 month. So like I mentioned, we're calling for more handy tools, professional services in the VeChain ecosystem. Once the maturity or prosperousness of those services and tools, I believe the customer or the users will build the application in a very short time. And actually, our goal is to make 90% of the cases can be done in 2 weeks. So that could really help those business people, enterprise users to make a decision, to see the results, to try out and then aim for scaling up with appropriate budget involvements.
So how would you describe, so going back to, let's say, 2016, I'm very familiar with that period. I worked for a bank that was looking at a number of POCs at that time too. And how much of your time was spent then versus now on the education piece? I would assume, as you've said, that as blockchain technology has become more understood, that potentially that is shortening the POC to execution stage. Is that accurate?
Yeah, of course. I think it's about like 90% to 10%, that kind of comparison. If we compare in 2016 and now, I still remember in 2016 when we tried to meet with the different business people, enterprises, most of them will spend, usually spend like hours try to understand what is Bitcoin, what is a blockchain, what blockchain can really do. They have, lots of questions. Even most of them are quite common, like what is a consensus and how the blocks has been mined? How do you guarantee the data on the blockchain is immutable, that kind of the question. But nowadays, actually, most of the time, you don't have to do that at all. People are just more curious about like how you're going to build the blockchain applications, or how you merge that technology into my business, or even how to create the new business model with new business value because of the features of the blockchain, that kind of the things. We don't need to explain what, but we need to, focus on how to build the blockchain applications, that kind of the things, how to use.
Well, that must be refreshing. I know it is for me. The more people that understand what's going on, the more interesting the conversations can actually be, I think.
Oh yeah, it's much more interesting than 2016. Even I'm fascinated about the blockchain technology, but if you repeat the same answer for like 100 times, you get bored.
Very true. So last year, VeChain announced the launch of the world's first blockchain-enabled intelligent tumor treatment center. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that. But you did that in partnership with Renji Hospital in Shanghai. And then recently, you enabled an archival solution for COVID-19 test records at a hospital in Cyprus. So when you started VeChain, did you always have bigger plans to kind of focus on the medical sector? I know you kind of started your career in the more enterprise space, but it seems like VeChain is being used for lots of different use cases. There's quite a variety, and I think these two are very interesting.
Well, I would say, honestly, to be honest, starting from the beginning, we consider there were two territories who are quite, let's say, not really our focus, or we shouldn't put on the focus, let's put this way. And one of them are medical sectors. Another one is finance industries. The reason we make that kind of decision because two reasons. One, whatever the financial sectors or medical sectors are quite, let's say, regulated areas. Yeah, high regulated areas. Yeah. One is involve money. Another one involves life. So it's pretty serious. And usually the industry, that kind of the industries are quite conservative, quite cautious. They have to be very careful about any kind of innovations or changes. So we decide in the early beginning, we decided to go to like retail industry, go to even the automobile, focus on the supply chain, but we never try to think about that. And we maintain these kind of the conversations, just try to understand how they think about the blockchain, how they think about the blockchain in the future, for sure. But we didn't really step in these sectors. But recently, I would say because of the pandemic situation, people are more crying for, let's say, any kind of solution could quickly address that kind of the problem.
Yeah.
And some of the problems you cannot, launching some digital solution without blockchain, especially like COVID-19, the passports, the patient passports when we launched in Cyprus. Actually, one of our partner, it's a startup team. It's called Identity in Cyprus. They built this application, but we help them with technical support. And also with Renji Hospital is one of the, let's say, is one of the response to COVID-19 impacts to the whole world.
Yeah.
With COVID-19 impacts, we just talked before this AMA about COVID-19 situation. It's about the balance of economic development, but also people's health and people's safety. So let's say the entire world is crying for digitalization. People believe digitalization should be the job to be done yesterday, not today or tomorrow. So I would say digitalization is new black, and in blockchain cannot be missed in this kind of the digitalization. And we just seize the opportunities to quickly launch, the solution for like Renji Hospital and also for Cyprus. And actually, we are working more and more in these sectors. We have been talking to, let's say, like senior centers in China as well for similar COVID-19 solutions on blockchain. We talked about that before in other places. It's called VTrust. Basically, you kind of generate the green passport for facilities, for places, including the shopping mall, hotel, senior centers. But for sure, different places have different level of policy, how to respond to the COVID-19 changes. And also for the governments are easily to monitor the situation. And
so
for
like a badging, like, it's a authentication of the policies and procedures that they have in place that give them a rating. Is that what you're? Okay.
Yes. And also it's your live operations in that place based on the severity level of COVID-19 situation in that area will give you different instructions, different guidance, like how to operate on a daily basis or weekly basis.
Okay.
So basically, you kind of show to the public, like, we have done that kind of activities or actions to protect you, so we are safe. You can, watch a movie or doing a shopping in my place or stay in my hotel, or the senior people in the senior center are safe. That kind of the message to be sent to the public. And also you mentioned about the Renji Hospital. For sure, the tumor treatment center is, let's say, it's a very huge project, and it could take years to accomplish that. Basically, the idea is to building the smart hospital. Let the hospital running, let's say, more remotely or more rely on the digitalization part. So there are lots of critical data will be, let's say, secured on the blockchain. They have to be secured on the blockchain because it matters about the people's life. Right. Honestly, working in the medical sector is very tough. It's very difficult because you gotta make sure every step, very carefully. You gotta go through lots of compliances and regulatory requirements, that kind of things. But also, we find, we have been spending time working on this tumor treatment center project, but actually we have also some other project working in parallel with Renji Hospital as well. It's also called My Something. For sure, there will be an announcement very soon. But basically, it's a very interesting project to let's say to secure some key information of well, I cannot say that much. But I'm sure it's a very interesting project. Basically, we starting from like well, anyway, I'm gonna say it.
Well, it sounds like, maybe I'll help you, that one project within this particular hospital is leading to future projects because they see how the technology can bring value,
Yeah, yeah, it's
transparency, security, all those things,
yeah,
and then new projects become available to you.
yeah. Thank you very much, Tina.
You're
Actually,
like,
it's kind of like a trial run. It's
yeah,
we try small areas and with let's say less regulatory requirements, but
yeah.
prove to the medical sectors like blockchain can really help you, that kind of the thing.
So
So
so considering the COVID pandemic, there's been quite a lot of discussion around these digital passports for people to start
mhm,
traveling again,
mhm,
and whether or not, I mean, there's some, censorship questions around kind of the morality of whether or not we should require people to produce them to get on a plane, or, to go to another country. That's not what I'm asking about. So I guess the question is, do you think that something like that might be implemented? And if so, will the trial that you've just undertaken in Cyprus, is it something that you could replicate? So, that it
for
could,
sure.
okay. And
Yeah, for sure.
enable a global solution for a digital passport?
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's actually, as a matter of fact, the project we have been working in Cyprus is attracting more attentions from other countries, starting from Europe.
Sure.
Some big countries are approaching us through our partners like PwC, DMV, that kind of reputable partners to ask for this kind of solution. And also Japan is very interesting about that as well. Basically, it's quite easy to replicate because the vaccine passport is built on our PASS platform. It's pretty well fit our strategy. Enable anyone to build the blockchain applications like in 2 weeks. So yeah, it's pretty easy to replicate.
Okay.
For sure, the challenge is again, it's also a regulation challenge. For example, in Europe, you have a GDPR.
Yeah.
So how to balance the privacy of people's information, but also, the convenience along with the traveling, along with across the different country, is a fundamental question, let's say.
Yeah, well, I think that's the issue, isn't it? It's validating that the person in this case has achieved whatever is required to receive that kind of digital authorization without giving
Right.
away any of their medical data, where they
Right.
got the vaccine, what vaccine they got, where they live, all of those kind of GDPR things that you wouldn't want to share, right?
Yeah. 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 That's a challenge.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to come back and update us on what happens, because obviously we, as a human race on the world, are ready to get back out there and
Yeah.
start spending time with each other, right? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the tokens themselves, because we've had quite a lot of questions around the tokenomics for VeChain. So
Sure.
the VeChain Thor blockchain was officially launched in 2018,
Mhm.
and it's compatible for dApps to build on Ethereum, but also it offers some features that aren't available on Ethereum. Can you tell us a little bit more about those?
Yeah, for sure. That's actually we are quite proud of that because when we try to build a VeChain store, firstly, while still I really wanted to, I do it every time. I do appreciate the contribution from Ethereum. Actually, on our Genesis block of VeChain store, we let's say mint a word. It's like a salute to Ethereum, respect to Ethereum. I don't remember exact words, but it kind of show our respect to Ethereum, which really bring blockchain to technology to another level. But also we can see some shortcomings or challenge, like concerns, especially to those enterprise users when they try to use Ethereum as a public blockchain platform. Some of the let's say the features, or let's say like the gas situation. Right now, whatever with the DeFi or with NFT, the gas fees is insane. Like sometimes in Ethereum, and also especially to some new users, like we call newcomers, when they not really, have a clear situation, they don't know about the clear, they don't understand quite well about the gas, ether. They could make a terrible mistake. One of my friends actually just told me a story. Some guy, he tried to buy NFT. It's like a $7 NFT token, whatever.
Yep.
And accidentally he paid like $1,200 for gas fees because the congestion of Ethereum. But anyway, those kind of the shortcomings or challenges we can see from Ethereum. And we did something totally different way. We're not really like building everything in the lab and try to put in the market that kind of way. Before we start the designing of VeChain Solar, we interview like, I don't remember, like 40, maybe 50 executives from different enterprises. We just simply ask them the question like, do you want to use a public blockchain, or why don't use Ethereum or Bitcoin as a public blockchain? Or do you have any, particular requirements if you try to use a public blockchain? That kind of questions.
Yeah.
And when we collect the feedbacks, we know the answers. We need to build some, we call enterprise-friendly interfaces or features to those users, so they are able to build the blockchain applications. I just want to give you some unique, let's say, invention or what we have done as the first in the world. The first one is what we call the fee delegation, which means if you don't own the cryptos, but you can point some sponsor to pay for your smart contracts, and you can deal with those sponsors in different way, like with traditional payments or contracts, whatever. It's kind of eliminate the barriers for enterprises, to go to build the smart contracts or build the blockchain applications on VeChain Solar. The other thing we did, very interesting.
They don't have to actually own the crypto themselves, because some enterprises, let's say their treasury wouldn't allow them to take that into the balance sheet, so they can still build it and get other people to pay the costs that need to be paid in crypto. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Nowadays, it's much better because Elon Musk just announced that Tesla owned like $1.5 billion Bitcoin or something. Yeah. But think about 2017 or 2018, it's like impossible, right? Mm-hmm. And even today, some of enterprise, when they think about running the business on the blockchain, they still need to consider about the cost or and also the complexity to manage the wallets or try to use maybe custodian service or not. But they still wanted to own or control the smart contract for sure. That's their core business. So pointing some sponsor to do, let's say, crypto job, it's pretty easy for them. Actually, we have done several times for hundreds of different clients for like that. With this kind of protocol, it's pretty easy. And some other feature like a multi-payment protocols, for example, in whatever Bitcoin, Ethereum, when you try to pay the multiple different transactions, different people or different destination, you need to initialize a different transaction, right? Multiple transactions one by one. Mm-hmm. But we have a MPP protocol to allow you to generate one transaction, but containing multiple different clauses. Even you can set up some dependency for some clause. Like you can do like 1 to 100 or 1 to 200, that kind of the transaction. Also can save the average transaction cost for these kind of payments or transactions. There are some other things like conditional transactions. You can set up the timestamp or let's say like time window for the transaction. When, well, for sure, right now, honestly, we don't experience any kind of congestion situation on VeChain store. But once if you experience some congestion on the blockchain network of VeChain store, you can set up the time, like saying, oh, I only can validate this for 30 seconds. Once the 30 seconds expire, but the transaction didn't go through successfully, you can roll back, that kind of thing. It's
Okay.
quite convenient for enterprise. Imagine you produce like, let's say, 1,000 products. You want to execute a smart contracts to upload the information to the blockchain, but you cannot wait there for like 2 days
Sure.
or 2
Yeah,
hours.
it's like
Right?
transaction batching, right? I mean,
Right.
you might have 10 transactions that go through in a day, but you don't want to
Yeah.
sit there and wait for 45 minutes for each one of them to go through.
Exactly. But you
Okay.
can make some other adjustments. Maybe boost up a little bit gas fees to respond to some let's say urgent situations. But at least they give the users options to do that.
Yeah. Well, so talking about transaction fees, the VeChain economy consists of two tokens, so VET and VTHO. How does using this two token system solve major issues that Ethereum has experienced, like transaction fees?
Yeah, well, let's revisit the classic problems or paradox of, most of the public blockchain platform in terms of gas and let's say tokens. Actually, the gas is the cost to pay for using or usage of blockchain platform, right? So when you do a payment transaction or smart contracts, you use Ether to pay for transactions for gas. But it kind of generates a classic paradox because most of the public blockchain platform, they have the token itself linked to the gas like directly. So when more people try to use let's say blockchain platform, and the demands of the token will be going up for sure.
Yep.
And then the value of token will go up. So that means the gas fee will go up as well. And most of the time, it means the cost to use the blockchain will go up. Then less people will use. So it's kind of a very classic paradox. So we designed this twin token system to allow VET generates VSOL automatically as one of the token on the VeChain blockchain pay for the gas specifically. And we maintain several different manners or ways, approaches, could adjust the VSOL, whatever for the burning rate or gas price or ultimately generation speed, for sure with different level of votings. We need to get the consensus of the community for sure. But that means we have different options to adjust the way for, let's say, to adjust or to maintain the average cost of uni transactions. I'm not talking about the price. I know there were lots of confusion before, but I'm not talking about the price of VSOL should like maintain low or relatively low for transactions. But I'm talking about the transaction cost could be relatively low for running whatever the blockchain applications or smart contracts or do the payments.
Okay. So you mentioned that one of the tools available to control the cost of transactions is the ability for the network to vote. I'm assuming that they can then vote to increase the rate of veto.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So what circumstance do you anticipate that this would happen? Is it something that you expect will occur, as adoption grows, or is this a tool that you're hoping that you won't have to use?
Well, they have we actually have multiple different options to adjust this. Some of what we call soft adjustments. For example, we can adjust the gas price. We can, adjust the burning rate. It could easily to be implemented, and we can monitor the situation of the market or response of the markets. But the generation speed, or let's say generation rate of VSOR coming from VET, is, let's say, we call it like a last resort. Usually it will happens when, let's say, every approaches we tried before failed, and also the capacity of the entire network kind of reach or pushing to the limits, and then we will consider to adjust the generation rate of VSOR, but usually come along with the half fork. So, yeah.
Great. So VET holders can earn extra VETHO by staking their VET using the VeChain wallet. This then creates a node, which is represented by an NFT, which can be brought to sale on the mobile wallet, right? So it's quite a lot there. So we've had a question about the economic node pool. And the question is it currently scheduled to reduce down to 0 in September 2021? Will there be a vote to decide in the final reduction, when the final reduction will take place? So I just said an awful lot of things there. Can you explain what I've just described?
Yeah, sure. Well, actually, as we announced in 2018, I remember that correctly. 15 billion VET has been allocated to VSOR reward pool, and also the rules were like all VSOR generating from this pool will be used to reward VeChain node holders, and allocate VET in VSOR reward pool reduced by 2.5 billion every 6 months. So in this September, it will be the final. After all, although VSOR is a token which is being traded and performing surprisingly quite well, we ultimately believe that VSOR is a gas of VeChain blockchain, and it's a power of our ecosystem. VeChain is strongly, let's say, revitalizing our community developers program, and we have been planning on pushing out a program which not just target community-based developers, but also professional development team. This program led by our chief scientist, Dr. Zhou, and the blockchain core team. It's in the plans. You could see the news or release in the coming days. One of the biggest support of VeChain Foundation can give our ecosystem project teams, besides, let's say, VET tokens as funding, is a VSOR support. It's more direct, more, let's say, convenient and useful. At this stage, while VeChain is one of the top 20 tokens in the world, we believe our developers program can more effectively add long-term value to VeChain ecosystem, and VSOR is what we have allocated to the program. We'll continue to allocate to help support our ecosystem projects. So even the, let's say, the economic reward pool will be done in September, but we will have new programs. Please rest assured, this part of, let's say, along with other VET holdings of the foundation, will be used to support the VeChain ecosystem for sure. For example, recently, we have allocated 10 million VSOR to one of our NFT projects, we call VMworld, to help them to launch the new marketplace for NFTs. And we believe this kind of the support of growing projects with our ecosystem perhaps would add more value long term, and that value will trickle down to our VET holders in a more sustainable way. That's our philosophy.
Yeah, well, that makes sense to me. So you brought up DeFi and NFTs. Let's just dig into that because it's a hot topic right now. So the first thing I wanted to ask about is VexChanger launched the first DEX on VeChain. So VexChain.io. How does it handle issues that other DEXs have around slow transaction speed or high fees, liquidity issues? How is that improved or addressed on VeChain that might be different to other DEX platforms?
Yeah, sure. Well, VeChain Soul blockchain is aimed at mass adoption of blockchain technologies, with several different features on the blockchain, including like fee delegation, MPP, and also the twin token design. Our blockchain protocol has been designed and constantly improved to tackle that kind of the problems, including scalability, high transaction fees, the app usability, or that hinder the mass adoption. And DEX is just one of the many apps that can definitely benefit from our blockchain for sure. And talking about the VeChain, actually, our core development team has been trying to build the open source tools that solve the technical difficulties when constructing a DeFi or DEX application on VeChain Soul. VEX is just an active DEX app in our ecosystem. It is currently utilizing the tools to upgrade the current systems, could be more, much better. So that's they call the VEX 2.0, I guess. So as long as there was a real demand or problems or such as a low liquidity, eventually will be solved by, let's say, by the community, I believe. We will support our community through, let's say, the multiple different programs, like grant programs, new tools, technical support, improvement of protocols like POA 2.0, or directly support from the core development team. Actually, our core development team is quite active in the community, and exchange the discussions or technical conversations with the different teams.
So NFTs specifically, over the last couple of months, have just blown up, right? So I remember CryptoKitties 2017. The NFT was, this idea. It was mostly around collectibles. Nobody really cared, right? In the last couple of months, it has really, we've got Wall Street Journal talking about NFTs, and they're talking about it on Squawk Box, right? So it's a thing. And you mentioned that the ecosystem, having projects built on it, obviously generate value for the ecosystem itself, and then thereby a value for the users and the token holders, right? Which is the way these things are supposed to work. So with NFTs in mind specifically, how do you think that VeChain is going to approach, the prioritization of enabling the development of NFTs, either, enabling marketplaces or enabling, minting of tokens, for example? Is this just a fad, or is this something that you guys are looking at thinking, yeah, we need to spend some time on this?
Well, actually, NFT is not really a new concept per se.
Right.
We start to look at that like since 2018, actually. When I talk about look at that, it's about the use case and the possible technical features. So generally speaking, VeChain Soul is ready for NFTs or to support any kind of NFT projects for sure. Like you mentioned, the economic node or X node program is an NFT in the VeChain wallet. You can trade, you can enjoy some benefits, extra rewards. So it's let's say technically it's ready. And actually, I want to talk a little bit more about NFT from my personal understanding or perspective. I would say NFT has two kind of use cases from my observation right now. One we call collectible items or collectible assets, like most of NFT cases you already know, like a CryptoKitties or recently some kind of crazy auction has been done. Um, so I don't need to go too much about that right now. But actually, there is another kind of NFT use case. It's called functional assets. For example, like diploma or certification, like
Yep.
DMV's certification, which actually is alive on the VeChain store as an NFT. That could be used in different scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
That could use to prove or authorize something or some processes.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like a direct operational use case or use scenarios, right? So, and also we have other tools and services like we call the VeChain 2chain, has already had a comprehensive support. For instance, like auto contract deployment, NFT minting, ownership transfer. We can combine with other, let's say, critical opponents in the NFT concept, like
Mm-hmm.
custodian, data storage, even IoT. We could link the NFT to physical NFC chips for future tracking or verification, or kind of acting as a bridge between the physical world and the virtual world. Generally speaking, we could provide a turnkey solution for any NFT applications right now, especially to those non-technical team, or most of the time NFT generators, they are content providers. They're not technical people. They
Right.
are looking for some turnkey solution. They could easily go to some website, click some buttons, boom, you have an NFT in the wallet,
Yeah.
something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So technical wise, we are quite ready, and we will go further, introduce some new standards and tools like new wallet design and the fee delegation as a service we call DAS module to enhance the user experience on that part. So last but not least, I know I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but crypto.com is also having something about the NFT, right? And we will partner with NFT with crypto.com for that part to offer
Okay.
a one-stop solution, including contents uploading, information display, token mint, and even exchange. It will be very easy, especially for non-crypto people, to do it.
Well, it kind of reminds me of, in the early 90s when you wanted a, website address, and there wasn't, this is pre-aggregators, right? Now you just go to, let's say, GoDaddy, and you buy the address that you want, right? But before, it was hard, right?
Right.
So I think, going back to what we started the conversation with around kind of AWS or, blockchain as a service, being able to implement almost like widgets for people to use the technology without having to be able to code it up themselves is going to be a critical part of, mass adoption, because not everybody's a coder, right?
Yeah. And also, of course, we cannot do it alone. We need to align with, the different partners. Like we mentioned about the verification case, could be with DMV and crypto.com for some future NFT use cases. So yeah, we like to work with partners for that.
Awesome. Well, we started the conversation before we went live, and we were talking about some of your upcoming trips. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about sustainability. I think it's really interesting that you're doing quite a lot of work in that kind of green space. So as more attention is moving toward decarbonization, what is VeChain doing to move towards net neutral carbon plans or renewable energy?
Actually, a lot, really a lot. Let's talk about a little bit about the past. We tried with BYD, like Chinese Tesla company. Actually, it's the largest EV company in the world. We tried some like carbon footprints project with them for 2 models of EV, collecting the data from the cars and transfer to be the carbon credits, could be used in the carbon ecosystem to incentivize the drivers, the car owners, to do more, decarbonization activities, something like that. It's quite successful, and actually we're Actually, today we just started the third phase with BYD right now. We're designing the new proposal and talking about the project timeline, something like this. But generally speaking, I would say, and also we have been talking about the San Marino carbon low emission or zero emission ecosystem. It's a first country level, emission goal, which is quite ambitious actually. It involves lots of parties, lots of players to build this low carbon ecosystem together, along with DMV for sure. But unfortunately, because of the COVID-19, the project really slows down, and we're just waiting for the full recovery, and so we are able to relaunch it. But right now for China, China just put carbon net neutral plan into the new national plans. I remember a couple of years ago when we talk about the blockchain concept. How popular topic of blockchain right now in China. The president said like several times, we need to go full speed on the blockchain. Actually, everything starts from like 5 years ago. China put the blockchain into the national plans. But now in the new 5 years national plans, China just put carbon net neutral plan into this plan. Becomes like one of the priorities. The entire country should working on that. And nowadays we are receiving multiple different let's say more than maybe 50 leads or inquiries asking about the carbon projects we have done with BYD and what we can do for that, and coming from the different sectors. So I would say we are responding to that for sure because we already have something really in place. But generally speaking, let's say sustainability is the VeChain's key business sector since 2018, and we have worked with our partners and customers for several projects, like BYD I just mentioned, and also recycling material traceability for Cause, which is a subsidiary of H&M, and also along with My Story, that kind of different cases as well. So based on this kind of a concept of the direction, let's say we already create a high standardization as a VeChain blockchain. It's kind of like a sustainability solution is characterized the high standards for VeChain blockchain and light cost and the flexible payments in the market. So it's quite easily implemented by business in many sectors. So let's say we have been working a lot on that, and there will be more and more projects coming and go live in the coming months.
Excellent. Well, until Elon takes us to Mars, we only have one planet, and we all live here. So I think it's everybody's responsibility to do what they can for the environment. And I know our industry gets held to account for the energy that we use. I don't think that story is always told in a balanced or fair way, but it's excellent to see that the VeChain is committed to and addressing sustainability within their main business model. I think that's really admirable. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, also I just wanted to add a little bit of supplementary comments. I think the blockchain is a perfect solution to solve or to address the sustainability for everyone. Because when we talk about sustainability, actually UNDP or United Nations has been talking about sustainability for years. But right now, for most of the countries, it really relies on, let's say, big enterprises. They have a KPI for decarbonization or low carbon emissions, something like that. But let's say it's not really enough. We still have a long way to go, right? But blockchain technology can really enable individuals, can incentivize individuals, not only just about the educations, but also incentivize with the real credits for your daily operations or daily activities. When you use, let's say, your own cup other than the paper mug, for coffee, or you use electricity vehicle other than gas or for fossil cars. That kind of activities could really be, let's say, digitalized, quantified, and certified, and then becomes the credits, and you can somehow to exchange or contribute to the entire sustainability solution. I think it could be a new standard for the whole world someday. I just hope that day will come like very soon.
Yeah, I think that opens up participation, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that it isn't just some government standard that's set, like the Paris Climate Accord. All of the governments have kind of set their standard that they're going to achieve, but it doesn't necessarily resonate with me unless I'm able to kind of see how I'm contributing. So if you can participate, and then of course, if there's an incentive, the more people participating, it's almost, more likely that people's behavior will change if they're incentivized to do so.
Yeah. It's more like a participation with motivation.
Yeah, indeed. Well, Sunny, we've come to the top of the hour. I could talk to you for another hour for sure. So definitely come back and do another AMA. It's been so much fun. How can people get in touch with you and learn more? So they can go to VeChain official at Twitter.
Sure. What's your Twitter, Reddit? VeChain official. It's quite. I would say it's quite famous in the crypto world, and you also can go to official channel on Reddit to find more. Actually, as a matter of fact, I think we just approaching to 100K followers on Reddit. There are lots of discussions, comments, even sometimes challenges to the VeChain Foundation, and I take it in a very positive way. Stay tuned for official channels of multiple different medias of VeChain Foundation, and you can find more.
Excellent. Well, if your question was asked during today's AMA, you may have won a share of the VET prize pool, so lucky you. If you did, your prize will be deposited within your app in 14 days. And to learn more about crypto.com or our upcoming AMAs, you can follow us on Twitter at crypto.com and our YouTube channel, where hopefully you're watching us today. Please go ahead and hit subscribe, and hopefully we'll hear from Sunny again in a couple months. You've got a new announcement coming out, it seems like every day. So I'm sure the next time we have you back, you'll have some exciting stuff to share.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you so much. And thanks to all of our viewers and communities for joining us today. See you next time.